Hello everybody and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting. What you are about to see and or watch, depending on where you're watching and or listening to us, is our latest chat with friend of the pod, returning guest, one of our absolutely favorite people on the entire planet, Brian Volk-Weiss, founder, CEO of Nacelle Toys, the godfather of the Nacelleverse. Really excited to share this chat with you. We have updates on Biker Mice. We have updates on Mesa, the Expanse, and of course, it wouldn't be a chat with Brian without tangents and industry stories and updates on the next season of Icons Unearthed, Spider-Man. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button so that way you don't miss it when we post new videos. While you're liking and subscribing to things, follow us at AIC_podcast on Instagram, on Twitter, or X, on TikTok, all the places where we're constantly posting toy news, deals, availability, updates, anything and everything that we think would help out the community. And if you're listening to us on podcast streams, make sure you hit that subscribe button too. There, do that. Subscribe, rate, review, all the good stuff. So that way we get out to more people and we get more fun guests on the show. So I'm gonna stop talking now. Housekeeping done. Let's cut to the conversation that we had with Brian Volk-Weiss. Enjoy. So Brian, since the last time we spoke, your Expanse Kickstarter launched and was successfully funded. Can you give us an update on where they are in the process? And of course, congratulations on an awesome campaign there.
Well, thank you. We're getting the process is in full effect. I actually, it's funny, I posted this picture a couple days ago, but look at that. I still have them on my desk. Got some prototypes. But it's great. We're going back and forth with the factory on pretty much every step of the process. We've done, I think, 3 rounds of paint masters, and we're getting close to what I think is the finished look. Test shots have been getting better and better and better. And we actually, I believe, have a surprise coming up, hopefully next week, as it relates to the Expanse that hopefully people like. I've learned the hard way, Kickstarter and Reddit, they're kind of like their own religions. So you got to be very careful not to say or do anything that upsets their religious beliefs. But so hopefully they like what we have coming up.
The Biker Mice from Mars touched down earlier this year. How far out are we from getting their bikes in hand?
So as you know, we've only been making toys for 3 years. If there is anything that's a part of this process that I'm like, why did all the people who made toys for the 100 years before we did not figure this out? It would be the boats. The amount of insanity about getting the stuff to our office once it leaves China, you would not believe. Like we have a boat in the port right now that was like 3 weeks late. On the water, by the way, like it left China. I don't know where it went for 3 weeks, but it fucking went somewhere. So it gets in 3 weeks late. Then they're x-raying the boat, which is like, surprise. We were told that would be a week. We're going in. So let's pretend we live in a world where they could just drop them in our parking lot from the factory. I could guarantee you 100% this year. Based on the bullshit with the boats, I'm hopeful it's this year. But they're in production right now. I mean, they're popping out of molds as we speak. I saw a video last night or this morning of that process, which you will see on Instagram probably in a week or two.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean those Biker Mice figures are great. Can't wait to get
they're awesome.
The bikes to go with them. But from mice to cattle. You recently launched the first wave of Cowboys of Mesa. Why is this line special, and really, how does it fit into your growing Nacelleverse?
So, I mean, this is gonna sound so cheesy, but like it's special because it's special. Like it is, there's nothing like it. Like nothing. So it's so funny. Biker Mice gets so much credit for being funny. And it is. I mean, it's one of the funniest cartoons ever made. Cowboys and Moo Mesa was too. I mean, it was just as funny. And like it gets no credit for how funny it is. And it's so unique. Number one, it takes place in the past. So almost everything else we're doing takes place in the present and the future. So we're dealing with all this like 1800s Jules Verne kind of stuff, which is awesome. They're cows. They're cows that love puns. It's and I'm a big like accessories guy. Like I love accessories. That for me, by the way, I'm Biker Mice. If we can go back for a second, I'm a vehicle guy. Like my GI Joe collection, as it relates to the figures, it's probably 5% complete. My GI Joe collection, as it relates to the to the vehicles, probably 75 to 80% complete.
Wow.
And as you know, rumor has it vehicles are bigger than figures. So you understand the commitment to vehicles. So for me with Biker Mice, I mean, I cannot believe we're making our first vehicle. That's crazy. Back to your most recent question about Moo Mesa. Yeah, it's perfect for us because it is unlike like to see Terra Bull next to Max 89 or 100, like that, what a beautiful image that is, like of these completely different worlds working together, fighting together. Like that's what we're trying to build. We were offered a pretty good IP recently, but we turned it down because it was too similar to one of our other IPs. So that's what I love about Moon Mesa. It's so not, by the way, it's not just original as it relates to our other brands. It's very original compared to every other brand.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you talk about the originality of it. What's different about these figures than what you've previously done?
They are bigger, they are more detailed. And we did a couple little experiments with sectors and one with biker mice on the actual plastics that we use and how they get painted. As I mean, this is literally about paint drying, so I'm probably going to make everybody super bored.
No, 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 no. That's what they're
No.
here for. That's what they're here
Okay.
Yeah,
for.
we're literally a show that's interested in watching paint dry.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, as long as it's about toys,
Yeah.
not a house. Who wants to talk about painting houses? But so some of the stuff we tried, if you looked at Stellara's armor from Sectars, that was a real, for us at least. I mean, I'm sure Hasbro's been doing this for 20 years, but for us, that was a huge push forward as it relates to this very sexy thing called paint blending.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives it this kind of like hologram look. So we are going to use that for Moo Mesa as a solid across the line and not as, oh, let's try it here, let's try it there, little pinpoint experiment. So and you can see it, I think, in the stills we've released because the basically the way the plastic cools in the mold, you asked for it, guys. I'm giving it to you. That affects the kind of paint you can use. So because we changed a bit the plastics we're using, the formula, it allows us to use, in my opinion, a better paint. This is not the official term, but I call it Dick Tracy paint. Like if you remember the Warren Beatty Dick Tracy,
Yep.
it was like yellow is yellow, red
Oh
is
yeah.
Mhm.
so it allows us. So again, if you look at Terrible, not to be confused with Terrible from RoboForce, different spelling. You should be able to see. I mean, that is as red can be on a piece of plastic.
Yeah, and I mean that difference in plastic is it's noticeable too, going from, you know, like those original RoboForce figures to the way that especially the biker mice and the sectors feel. You could tell you guys have been busy in the kitchen. as it
Yeah,
were.
no, very busy. And it's interesting, our kitchen, as you put it, for the most part, is in China. So, I'm used to looking at rough cuts, for over a quarter of a century. This is the same process, except it's a FedEx box shipped 3,000 miles. It's like really interesting.
Yeah. It's like it's almost making that analogy going back to like when dailies needed to be shipped off like overnighted somewhere
Yeah,
for review.
Yeah. By the way, can I give you one of my favorite pieces of useless trivia?
Please do.
I
absolutely.
I love this story. This is literally in my top 10 favorite things I know. I I I don't know what your opinions are. I don't want to make an assumption. It is widely believed that Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie. So if you happen to agree with that, or anybody who listens to this that agrees with that, the main reason why, and I know this will be controversial, Kirshner very deliberately, when he made the movie, did two things. One, he would delay sending the dailies back to California by about 12 hours, and he would speed up the tearing down of sets by about 12 hours. So what that meant was every morning when he woke up and had, 50 pages faxed to him from George Lucas. I don't know him well enough just to call him George. That's a joke. I don't know him at all. I met him once, 45 seconds. But so he'd get these crazy notes in the fax machine, and he'd call George and he'd be like, "Hey man, these are great notes. I love them. We are going to have to rebuild the sets. So just so you know, that's going to cost the money to rebuild the sets, and we'll probably have to add 3 days. But don't worry, I'm going to do all your notes." And George was like, "Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going." And Kirshner very deliberately didn't shoot things that he didn't want in the movie. And that, I believe, is a huge part of why that movie turned out the way it did.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me get that out there.
That's a good one. So sticking in the lines of kind of the film aspect of this, right? Like the media outside of toys. Part of the Nacelleverse is obviously bringing these IPs back onto people's screens. And are there plans to do that with Moo Mesa? And is the idea to kind of pick up where season two left off, or start a whole new world of stories there when that eventually does start moving forward?
So, first of all, Moo Mesa is in RoboForce, our first cartoon. So you'll even we may or may not be dropping something at San Diego. So you will absolutely you'll probably have to hit pause, but you will absolutely see some hints of the beautiful bovines walking around Detroit and Hawaii. But so they're absolutely in it. As it relates to will we do a cartoon of it, highly, highly, highly likely. To the question of will it be season two following their season one, my official answer is I don't know. We have a lot of things to do between now and making Moo Mesa. But what I can tell you is, if I had to guess, it's going to be what we're doing with Biker Mice. We're rebooting it in a way that's like 80 to 85% what was done before us. We're just modernizing it. And then
Okay.
15% is new stuff that we're adding to it. Unlike RoboForce, which we just started over from whole cloth, as they say. I mean, there's this guy, I don't know his name. There's this guy on the internet. It's the great, he's my favorite. I'm not, excuse me. I'm not disrespecting this guy. I love this guy, and I'm not being sarcastic. This guy, he is Mr. fucking RoboForce. This guy, like, he knows everything about RoboForce. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. He has he has RoboForce prototypes. Like, it is the most unbelievable thing I have ever seen. And he puts these videos out, about once a month, basically saying how he hates everything we're doing. And it's really interesting to me because he'll literally be like, you know, in the original cartoon, 100 did this. And I can tell from this sneak peek that Nacelle's 100 is doing that. And I'm like, the original cartoon you refer to, that was an unfinished 18 minutes that I think you could get as a DVD extra on like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Circle of the Ooze or something. Like it was like not a cartoon. Like there's no fan base except for this dude. Biker Mice, very different.
Yeah.
Biker Mice has a rabid fan base that cares about the details, and we are going to be reverential to those details. But there were definitely some things that we, had to be modernized a little bit for a 30-year-old cartoon. But our goal is, it's funny, I saw J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, believe it or not, because it got pushed back. I saw it at least 5 months before it came out officially.
Oh, wow.
The reason I saw it so early was a girl I worked with had a friend who worked at Paramount and was a publicist. And she worked for me. She was someone I worked with, and she knew that I love Star Trek. She got me into the screening, but her friend insisted that she be there with me for the screening. So I think about this all the time. So we're sitting there in the screening, the movie starts, and I don't know if you remember or not, but the whole opening of the movie is basically watching Captain Kirk's father. Not
Yep.
only are you watching Captain Kirk's father die, but his wife is also watching her husband die. And it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it is.
I am
Yeah.
bawling my eyes out. I mean, I literally have like a U of tears around the collar of my shirt, and I'm embarrassed. I'm sitting here with this girl I work with, and I'm crying my eyes out. She doesn't give a shit about Star Trek. She's just basically chaperoning me in the theater, and I'm like embarrassed. I'm like bawling. So at some point, I take a little look at her to see if she's looking at me, and like, oh, I'm embarrassed. And she was bawling. And I suddenly realized if you could make a movie, a Star Trek movie, that worked for me and worked for her, that's like winning the Super Bowl and an Oscar on the same day.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what we're trying to do with Biker Mice. It's a short runway, but we want to honor the original. But it's kind of like Top Gun Maverick, one of the greatest sequels of all time. It's a new movie. I just saw, I have to give a plug for this. I just saw the new Beverly Hills Cop movie last night.
Oh, how was it?
Amazing. It is.
I'm
so
excited.
glad to hear that.
And
Yeah.
just like Top Gun Maverick, it's a new movie. Everything's new, but it shows such reverence to the original. Like
So
it was
excited.
getting a new pair of shoes that feels like a comfy old pair of shoes. I know that's cheesy, but I can say it because I had nothing to do with making it. I cannot, but that's what we're trying to do with Biker Mice.
Well, awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So from bovipomorphic animated content for television, which I think we made up a word there, but I'm okay
like
with it. To one unearthing one of the most iconic characters of all time. Tell us about next season's Icons Unearthed Spider-Man.
So the next season of Icons Unearthed, which will be on Vice television in the United States, it's all about Spider-Man. And we cover all the way up to Tom Holland's last film. We didn't get into Venom. We didn't get into the Spider-Verse or anything. So we covered, Tobey Maguire, through the end of, the most recent film that came out.
So, I mean, Spider-Man has had so many different iterations, and it's a superhero that kind of resonates to a very, very wide audience. In all the conversations we've had, oddly enough, Spider-Man has never come up. What does the wall crawler mean to you? What's your relationship with him?
I will be very honest, and people are always very surprised to hear this. with the exception of Batman, and I am a massive Batman fan. It's the third biggest collection in my collection. That's saying a lot because you should see my Star Wars and Star Trek collection. I'm not a superhero guy. Like I'm not, never have been, just never got into it. Do I love Guardians of the Galaxy 1? Yes. Do I love Thor Ragnarok? Yes. Did I really enjoy the last Avengers film? Yes, I did. Do I watch Endgame on repeat the way I do Top Gun Maverick? No, I do not. But one of the interesting things about making documentaries about sometimes topics that you have no interest in is that you kind of get hooked. And I wouldn't say that I'm now like a huge Spider-Man fan and I'm going to run out and like see every Spider-Man movie opening night at midnight. But for the first time, I get it. Like I understand why he's the most popular superhero. I didn't understand that either, by the way. I always inherently assumed Batman or Superman were the two biggest. It's Spider-Man by far.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. So I get it. Everybody, either wants to be him or be with him. And it's a very simple thing, but it's also an incredibly unique idea. So, but I will say this. I will say this. I do have I probably shouldn't say this, but I do, and I'm not joking. I mean, I'm not joking. I do have a major regret about this season of Icons Unearthed, Spider-Man. Unfortunately, I did not see what is now one of my favorite movies of all time while we were making it. This amazing movie called Madam Web, which if you have not seen it, here's what you gotta know about me as it relates to this topic. I watch Batman and Robin once a year.
Amazing. I love it. Love it.
But it's bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Eric?
It's charming.
It's endearing. It's endearing.
Dave, I think we need a little intervention for Eric here. Well, yes, it's endearing. Yes. But it's a $150 million high school play.
Oh, yeah.
It is awful. Madam Web, it took 30 years. Someone almost caught up. Like, it is so bad. It's brilliant.
I just watched it on the plane. I was just traveling for work. I watched it on the plane. I couldn't wrap my brain around 90% of the decisions that were made in that film.
Yeah. I'd love to know the 10% you were okay with.
It mostly involves the decision of either I would love to know whether it was Adam Scott himself or his people that said, please do not include Adam in any of the promotional material for this film. Because I had no idea he was even in it, let alone the absolutely bonkers story that he's Ben Parker and he's an EMS. There was so much going on in that movie.
And by the way, to that point, again, I told you, I'm not a Spider-Man guy. Even I knew that was crazy. Like, even I was like, hey, he's driving an ambulance. What? Like it was so, but I mean, the best part of it, and this is the biggest spoiler ever, but hopefully no one cares. They don't get their powers until the fucking end credits. Imagine Bruce Wayne walking around Bruce Wayne for 2 hours. It was so weird. By the way, I'm a huge quote guy. Like everyone makes fun. I'm Mr. Quote. For the first time in my life, I have a two-hander. Our head of distribution, her name is Anna. We now routinely will be in meetings and I'll just look at her and say, God bless you, Anna. And then 2 minutes later, she'll do a fake sneeze. Like I've never had. So you haven't seen it, Dave?
Dave has not seen it.
So Madam Web superpowers, I guess she can kind of see the future or something. I don't really understand what happened because they don't show it until the end of the movie. But there's literally in the last minute of the film, she walks into an apartment And she just walks in and looks at the what's her name?
Was it Sydney Sweeney?
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
And I think it was her. She was like, "Oh, God bless you, Anna." And everyone looks at her like, "What?" The whole audience understands, by the way. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you would assume these characters have been with her much more than the audience. We've only been with them for 2 hours of ellipses, but they all look at her like, nobody sneezed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, 2 minutes later, she sneezes. It's that. By the way, the whoever works at Pepsi should get the fucking Super Bowl ring of product placement. The entire panel takes place on a Pepsi billboard, and it lands on the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like it is spectacular. Anyway, sorry to be wasting time. I'm obsessed. No. I've seen it twice. I saw it for the first time 3 weeks ago. I've already watched it twice.
Oh my God. Pepsi for the win. Yeah, I got off of the plane and texted our group that Dave is on. I was like, if you guys have not seen this movie, oh my God. Like, it's everything you've heard it is and probably more. Down to like the weird like ADR issues with certain scenes. Like how did that make it through any sort of QA process? Like, I don't.
To your point, like, I'm surprised the actual movie theaters didn't like send it back. Like,
yeah, it's that off.
Yeah. By the way, my favorite thing in the whole movie, other than the sneeze, was there in the right before they end up on the roof. They have the big battle in the basement or whatever. The bad guy. I mean, and dude, Dave, I'm barely exaggerating when I say this. A bomb blows up and he gets thrown through a brick wall. It's literally almost like the Kool-Aid Man going through a brick wall, and his silhouette is still in the bricks.
Yeah, like Looney Tunes.
Yeah, it's like Roger Rabbit.
Like all the bricks in the hole fell still glued together.
Remind us one more time, where can we pre-order Cowboys of Moo Mesa, and where can we check out Icons Unearthed?
Thank you. So Icons Unearthed is going to be on Vice. It premieres, I'm going to quiz you guys. Do you guys know when it airs?
July 10th, I think Brian's email said.
Good job, Eric. Good job. I have it taped right here, so I wanted to check your knowledge. So you pass. I'm going to send you a free Expanse prototype. And then anybody who wants to buy Moo Mesa or any of the other stuff we make, go to the nacellestore.com and you will not be disappointed. And if you are, take a picture of your problem. We'll send you another one.
Awesome. All right, Brian, thank you so much. And,
thank you, Brian.
We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Always fun. Bye, guys.